Let's discuss self-defense, fitness, diet, environment, your empowerment. Hosted by your very own O'Shane Bryant. What's up, going, people? Welcome to another episode of Let's Discuss. YouTube land. This is the first Let's Discuss podcast. So, welcome to all YouTube personnel. The focus for today is on the discussion around the effects, damaging effects as regards to the rains that would have lashed communities in Portland, Jamaica, between the dates of December 22nd and 23rd. Specifically, as was reported in a Jamaica Cleaner article on December the 24th, communities by the names of Windsor, Seamans Valley, Pigdry, to name a few, were damaged. Personnel would have reported that their homes would have been inundated, the roadway would have been damaged, and they would have experienced a lot of damage to their farmlands, produce, to name a few. So this generally would have taken place in communities that are within the Rio Grande Valley, as well as alongside some rivers. Here it is that what it is that I want to discuss is or are some contributory factors that would have resulted in the rains being as damaging as they would have been. Specifically, the focus are on the geology, the earthquake factors, as well as the geomorphology factors. So let's get it going. Geology. So in terms of the geology, the areas or the communities are located on bedrock that's highly faulted, or in layman's terms, they're highly broken up. This is as a result of past earthquakes, to say the least. The geology map you can see on the screen, which is provided by Professor Mitchell, is reflecting the general geology that the Rio Grande Valley it would be located in, and you can see that there are blue areas which represents volcanics, metamorphics, as well as you would have like the pinkish brown area, which is more so the volcanic clastics. So that gives a general representation to what it is that I would have explained a while ago. And you will also see some lines, and those brownish lines are generally the major fault lines or earthquake zones that is also associated with the area. So we have weak rocks already, and in the context of the rocks as well, it results in water moving on the surface. Unlike rocks in carbonate areas such as limestone, where a lot of the rainfall will go underground, such as in sinkholes and in cave systems. In areas such as Rio Grande Valley, where you have volcanic rocks, which tend to be more impermeable, these factors will result in rainfall traveling more on the surface. So you will see surface rivers, especially in flooding. So those are the more so critical factors I want to point out there, that the bedrock of the areas are generally weak, and in the context of the geology being volcanics, predominantly volcanic clastics, it's a case where surface water will dominate in periods of high rainfall. Earthquakes. It's important to note that Portland as a parish is predominantly exposed to the most felt earthquakes that Jamaica can record in a given year. The Earthquake Unit of Jamaica, through their data, showcase this, and what it is that I'm going to be more so focused on is just to highlight that for this past year, 2023, and just on the felt episodes, a total of 10 recorded earthquakes that would have been felt have been within the Portland region on the mainland, and the magnitude or the strength of the earthquake would have ranged from 2.8 to as high as 5.6 source earthquake unit of Jamaica. So the relevance of this is to indicate that with this relatively high frequency of earthquakes, what it is that you can expect is that, again, the rocks are being repeatedly worn down. And what this then now is going to indicate is that the rocks will be more so easily weathered, and these same weathered rocks can also become a source of energy in the context of the flooded roadways eroding or being eroded in and of themselves. So what we're seeing, where we see the roads, newly paved roads being dug up, this is as a result not just of this force of the water, but also the sediment that is being carried by the water, and this sediment that is being worn down as a result of earthquakes as a contributory factor. On the screen, I would have listed the 10 earthquakes felt episodes that would have been recorded for the year 2023, so you can take your time and go through them. But just to summarize, 3 main areas that earthquakes can actually contribute to flooding would be: 1, weakening of the bedrock. Another area would be the weakening of the slope resistance to failure, meaning that it makes it easier for landslides to occur. And similar to that, increasing joint space in the bedrock and the earth. So seeing cracks in the bedrock itself, or seeing gaps in the loose earth, is a way that earthquakes contribute to floods, in that when the rain fall, the rain will go into these areas which are considered as weak spots or areas of weakness, and will further erode, and as such, you just have further destruction taking place of the landscape. Geomorphology. Geomorphology relates to the physical features that make up the landscape. Now, in the context of the communities that were affected by the rains in the Rio Grande Valley area, the communities are predominantly located on floodplains, or more so what can be considered as the river bankings, or the areas where rivers would have flooded in the past. So that's a flat area predominantly. Similar to that is that these communities are also surrounded by valleys, ridges, as well as gullies, or another name for the valleys can be the gullies. And as a whole, the ridges, the valleys, the gullies, as well as the floodplains make up watershed, or areas where water is collected and channeled into the main flow area in terms of water flow area. And this water flow area is dominated by the river systems that predominate within and around the communities that would have been affected. So when in that context, if the geomorphology is such where the communities are on a floodplain or is basically adjacent to the riverbank, then if the river is going to be flooded, generally speaking, these communities are at risk of flooding themselves. And if it's a case where the flow of water is such where the valleys themselves are being altered because of weak bedrock as a result of weathering, as mentioned in the previous sections, then those factors will contribute in volume of water being higher, and as such the risk of flooding being greater. But not only that, when us as humans alter the landscape by, let's just say, building roads and paving roads, that in and of itself also will increase the incidence and the scale or magnitude of flooding. When we alter the natural landscape to build roads and farmlands, as an example, we reduce the general area for water to be absorbed in the earth and or for the natural vegetation to absorb the water, let's just say through the roots. Consequently, this contributes to flash flooding. So I guess now you'll be asking, what can the affected communities in the Rio Grande Valley do as a mitigation for future floods of this nature? Well, one thing that you can do is to consider installing the correct drainage systems and or culvert systems to assist with the channeling of water. Another thing could be to not invest heavily in the development of commercial property or property of value, especially along the banks of the Rio Grande Valley, and other rivers. And before investing in any form of property whatsoever, to consult with geoprofessionals as well as engineering professionals uh, to assist you through advice as well as support in your endeavors.